Let me go live on YouTube. Shout out, we live on YouTube. DJ, what's up? I sent you the I thought I sent you the co-host invite. Oh, this thing acting up. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna close it up, open it real quick, and I'm gonna send that right back to you. Give me 1 second. Hopefully this stupid thing on X tonight ain't gonna be acting up or whatever. So go ahead and get our co-host invites in. All right. Let me see if I can send that back to you, DJ. All right. I think I sent it to you. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Glad to hear. Glad to hear from the people coming in on YouTube tonight. We're gonna be doing the Donald Trump. We're gonna be doing the Kamala Harris debate. This is just the prelims up to the actual main event tonight. We're gonna have this thing. Hopefully, DJ had this thing streaming right up in here, so we can have this thing. We can listen to it and we can talk about it in between breaks and everything else as well too. So shout out to all my people coming in here. Miss Mary, what's going on with you? I see you up here. Did you want to speak and say something?
You know something? I have to reveal my identity. I am actually the G2 granddaughter of Robert Lincoln and President Abraham Lincoln, my G3. They pulled me out the woodwork when my mom passed away. I was told that they wanted me to run for president. I said, well, I tell you what, Snoop Dogg, this is what we're doing. We're actually doing a write-in, but if we don't get it this time, we'll definitely take the White House in 2028. Because I told myself, you giving me the reparations. That's the bottom damn goddamn lie. And I have an agenda whereby I am going to take care of my enlisted men and women. I'm going to do term limits for the United States Congress and Supreme Court. I'm going to convene a constitutional convention and redo that constitution because it's old, too old. I'm going to have an outreach program so these white folks can't say we didn't do nothing for them. I'm going to have a program where they're going to have representatives from each community that will go into their community and see what their people want. But we get the reparations. That's a bottom damn line. Robert Lincoln left my grandfather, who was a slave, who looked like a white man. He left him all of his property. I have thousands of agents to follow me. I told Snoop Dogg, I said, I just want to get reparations, and then you can be president. I said, oh, then I'm going to that. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you there. What's up, people activity? I see you over there on YouTube. Shout out to you and shout out to all my people coming in YouTube tonight, guys. Y'all already see the title. Y'all see what it's going to be. We're going to be having this thing live. DJ, what's up? Professor, what's up? Mel, what's up? Elder, what's up? Dr. Umar, a burner account, what's up? Tony, what's up? Original, what's up? Trey, what's up? What's up to everybody coming up in the space? Y'all make sure y'all share it out to my people over there on YouTube. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead and retweet it out over here on X as well too. So what's up to everybody up tonight? I want to hear y'all speaking up in here, y'all. I mean, this what's going on, Professor? You know, we finna do I think we was in Black Pressure Space that time when they had the debate between we was listening to Biden and we was listening to Biden and Trump that time, and we was up in Moku space. Okay, Moku, that's you over there. People activity. Shout out to my boy Moku over there on YouTube as well too. So we got DJ. DJ's gonna be handling the actual audio from the actual debate tonight. I want to get some of y'all up here. I want to get this room a little bit warmed up and whatnot. I don't want y'all sitting back. I see Original down there. Shout out to Original. I ain't seen my boy Original in a minute, so I want to hear what Original got to say as well too. We got this is gonna be quite the thing tonight. What would have made this thing even crazy if they didn't agree to like the mute mic thing, where they could just with Trump would have just been talking over her and she would have been laughing. So in a way, I wish they would have. In a way, I'm glad they had it so you can at least hear like the actual debate. But then in a way, it takes away from the theatrics that was going to be part of the night as well too. So what's up, Professor? What's up with you?
Hey, bro. Hey, I can't wait to see this, man. This is great. I think the old boy gonna do it, and he gonna take her down. And for all these folks that's sitting up in these spaces, hollering at us about this, you know, why you can't vote for Kamala, why you don't pull for her and all that. Hey, Trump gonna shut her down tonight, you know. And that's just my opinion. He gonna shut her down tonight. It's over. And as DJ would say, it's over.
Real talk. I want to, but we got to remember our family. We got family up in here too, and I'm not either one. I'm not a Republican or Democrat, but we got family up here that's Democrats as well too. So I want to hear what the families got to say as well too up in here.
It was an update today too, y'all. For everybody that don't know, it was an update today on Addict. So make sure your app is updated so everything can work properly.
Listen, I'm an independent, even though Lincoln and them are Republicans. I created my own independent reparations party, so I know it. Listen, all I can say is on.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I want to go ahead and give the speakers a quick shout out. We streaming this on YouTube, guys. So let's watch the language. I don't mind you dropping the A bombs, but let's watch out for the F bombs and all the other stuff as well too. We're gonna be streaming this thing, so definitely let's kind of be mindful of our language tonight as well too. I know everybody's gonna be excited and somewhat and passionate about what they hear tonight, but let's kind of remember to refrain from just all of the obscenities. Like I say, that some of it's cool, but the F's and the S, we got to watch out for that. I see my girl up.
I agree, but I'm followed by thousands of agents every day. I can't even have a personal life. They broke my marriage up, everything. I am a guinea pig. And so forth. So I won't cuss. I won't respect you, but I do cuss. Believe me, I can get them out of my yes,
Okay. Well, yeah, we got in this space. We got to kind of limit it some, but like I say, you if you're passionate or whatever, that it's no problem with that. It's no problem with you having excitement and expressing yourself. But we're also, the channel's been monitored by YouTube, some videos and stuff like that. So we have to kind of watch what YouTube. When in Rome, when in Rome. This is.
Listen, sweetie, the CIA director follows me all the time. Like I said, in fact, they follow me all the time.
The CIA director does not follow you. He's got more to do than follow you, love. Let's just be real.
Listen, I'm Lincoln's granddaughter, and the thing about it is that they just pulled me out of the woodwork.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I really don't want the job.
Okay, Miss Mary, no problem. Okay, no, there's no.
Yes, Lincoln was Ethiopian. They tricked his grandfather on the ship in Africa, brought him to Jamestown, Virginia, sold him into slavery. And you can laugh all you want to, but it's true.
Okay, Miss Mary. Okay, sweetie. Yeah. Okay. Real.
This sound like what's her name, man? This sound like Mimi.
No, it's not Mimi, but real quick, let's not get too far off topic, guys. Let's not get too far off topic. Oh no, she's not. No, we're not going down that well. We let's focus on
No, we're not going down. I'm gonna be real quiet. I know exactly what I have to do. I'm being quiet.
Okay, no issue.
Bro, get out of here. You can stay in the chat, but don't come up here.
Tell me to do H.
Let's ask this question: how is an Indian disguised as a black and allowed to be? Talk about how she's black, but she's really Indian.
Now that's a good question. Of course, if you ask that to the wrong person, they may get offended by that. Now, Frank, where are you from exactly?
I'm from where the great Abraham Lincoln was from.
And where exactly was that, Frank?
It's from London.
Abraham Lincoln is from London, is what you're saying?
No, Abraham Lincoln was Ethiopian.
Okay, Miss Mary, sweetie, stay on your microphone. Raise your hand now. Let for anybody that wants to speak before you come off your microphone. Raise your hand and we'll get to you. Okay, Frank, you say he's from London. If you say so, I'm not gonna argue with you. If you say he's from London, that's what it is. But anyways, tonight, guys, we look forward to to this debate. I see we got some of our people out, and everybody's kind of. I don't know if some of our people may have had a drink or two already, but nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong if you took a toke or two. I mean, hey, back in the day, I took my share of tokes as well too. So I mean, hey, nothing wrong with that.
From London, that's why we got a statue.
Okay, Frank. we're not gonna, it's not about Lincoln tonight, so to speak. But if
Can answer my question? How does everyone feel about Kamala Harris being an Indian?
how do you, Frank? Are you
all of a sudden changing into being saying she's black?
How do you feel about it, Frank?
I'm asking the question.
No, you're not at. No, you can watch yourself here now because I don't know what you're talking about. I asked the questions here and you answer, so I'll say it again.
Can I answer a question with a question?
Well, listen.
I'll answer back. This is impolite.
No, Frank. We pretty much, you came in here talking about Lincoln was from London and stuff like that. So we pretty much want to hear what you got to say about it. You're from London.
I asked you two questions. I asked you, how does everyone feel about Kamala Harris being an Indian, a Pajee, a dirty Pajee, and portrayed herself as a black woman?
You sound like an Indian.
And then
you sound like an Indian. You sound, you sound like an Indian. You sound like an Indian. Hey, Frank, are you Indian?
No.
What are you?
I am what Abraham Lincoln.
Well, Abraham Lincoln was a white man. He was a white American. So what are you?
I'm Ethiopian.
Okay. Okay. So
You're a white American trying to pretend to be.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm hitting the mute button because we gonna have a little bit of order in here. I don't mind people coming up to speak, but we're hitting the mute button. Okay, Frank. We appreciate you coming up here talking, Frank, but that's most of the people here have an issue with her. Her Indian being Indian and saying she's black. Some people say she's black. Everybody has their own opinion of it. I don't know. I have a certain way I feel about it, but hey, everybody's entitled to how they feel. But thank you, Frank. I see we got some people up here. This debate tonight is bringing out some individuals in here. I say the least of that. A shout out. I see Ricky down there as well too. Shout out Ricky. Shout out to all y'all coming up in here, man. Y'all don't be afraid to come up here and speak. Like I say, we got to go ahead. Go ahead, DJ and Professor and everybody else. We're trying to get this thing crunk and get it ready for this actual debate tonight.
So when she was Indian.
What was that?
I posted a picture up in the thing where she's
Indian.
Yeah,
Yeah, we know she's Indian, Frank. We know this.
So she's Indian then?
I don't think anybody has said anything other. She's Indian and she's supposed to be mixed race. Some people say she's black. I don't know, but yeah, we know this. And you're Indian.
The second picture, she's Indian. That's Indian. That's a dirty shitting on the street Indian.
Okay, Frank, watch your mouth in here if I drop you. I just told him not to curse in here. Matter of fact, Frank, I don't know. I think you're going to be a distraction, so I'm going to have to go ahead and I'm going to have to drop you down a little bit, Frank. And when you get a chance to come back up here, when the debate starts and you want to speak about something serious, we'll have you up here. But to me, Frank, you sound like you're an Indian as well, too. I mean, so I don't know what you're talking about. You and her sound like y'all could be cousins. You sitting up here talking about her, but you sound like you come to the family reunion yourself as well, too. So I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure you had your share of curry in your life. So let's not even go there, Frank. Let's not even go there. But DJ, go ahead. You had your hand up.
Right. So, just to answer Frank's question, we should not even call her Indian, call her by her actual ethnic background. She's a Dalit, you know what I mean? A Southeast Asian woman, you know what I'm saying? And she's not black either in the sense of, because folks assume her father was born in, it's Jamaican. No, he was just born there. He himself said he is of Irish and India mix. That's not black in any sense. Jamaican ain't even black. So it's like, why we sitting up here even saying that still? So Frank, even though he trolling, kind of got a point, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, ain't no one calling her black except some of these fools out here that's think she's black because her skin is melanated. I kind of had that argument with my uncle today. Hey, just because you saw some black kids outside, that don't mean they black in the sense because they skin melanated. So you got some folks out here who think otherwise and feel truly adamant about because their skin is melanated or brown, black, whatever it is. I'm looking at it dark, that they black American. See, we're the only ones that's coining that term black, because when you go to Africa, well, I'm Nigerian or Congolese, or you go to Jamaica, well, I'm Jamaican, or Haitian, you know what I'm saying? If you in Haiti, when you go to DR, I'm Dominican. They don't say I'm black. So it's like, why we keep calling her black? And don't call her Indian either, you know what I'm saying? Even though she's from India, call her a Desi, a Dalit, Vivek cousin, you know what I'm saying? Anti-black, call her what it is, yo. Don't call her a sister, though. That's for sure. Well, let's go. What up, Richard?
Hey, you think tonight that Trump is going to be able to stay on task, because I know that they're trying to give him pointers not to go out there and attack her personally. So can Trump go ahead tonight, and can he speak solely on the policies without making it to I guess a personal attack against her? Or do you think he's going to go back? He's going to resort back to being who he normally is and hit her with some low blows tonight?
Yeah, I'll just say, like I said before, I think I had this conversation with you. If he could just stay on point and just be unemotional, kind of like he was with Biden in the debate, I think he'll win, because what is Kamala Harris' record? She don't even got a record, you know what I'm saying, of doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he could win with just talking about the border. The borders are two sheriffs, one under Trump, one under Biden. Both systematically said, you never came to the border. You never showed up. They never met with you. None of that stuff. They said this on national TV, Fox News, NBC, ABC. So it ain't a lie. You know what I mean? So what's she going to do on that? And then, obviously, if you the border czar, look at the immigration issues in this country. I don't know what else he even got to say at this point about that. You know what I mean? But anything else she's done, nah. You know what I'm saying? We got to remember too, y'all. A lot of legislation that these folks say they're doing or have done was already put in place 2 or 3 presidents ago. So in reality, Kamala didn't do nothing. Or Scamala, she didn't do anything. You go on her website right now, there's no policy for anything, let alone black folks. Where's the policy for the economics? You know what I mean? The healthcare. Where are these policies at? So it's like, if he could just stay calm and just chill and just debate on the facts, he's gonna eat her up tonight, because all she's gonna do is turn around and laugh when you ask her a serious question. He Michael Jackson. Yeah, mic check 1 2 1 2. Just making sure we're still alive. I ain't just yapping.
I had kind of got caught up in the matrix a little bit, but yeah, we still here. It's going to be interesting to see tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how they talk about race, because Donald Trump, he's going to try to bring that into the situation as well too. And so it's going to be interesting to hear, because I know she's going to defend her she's going to defend her record and Biden's record on the HBCU and the funding and everything else like that as well too. So it's going to be interesting to see how they actually try to mix politics in there with race and all the things that they've done for black people. I know not Biden, I keep calling him Biden, but Trump is going to sit up here and say that he's done more for black people than anybody else, which is nonsense as well too. So, but it's going to be interesting to hear exactly how both of these candidates spin it. Go ahead. Who's that requesting? The Atman. Go ahead. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, and thank you for inviting me up to speak. When it comes to you saying, paraphrasing of course, that he should not go, or can he not go personal? When they go high, when they go low, you go high. All that. I'm not trying to do the Michelle Obama game tonight. I want him to go low if he needs to go low. If he needs to get personal, then he needs to get personal. Getting personal is part of your personal life is part of the presidency. We want to know who we're electing, not just your policies. Of course, we want policies. We want policies first. I'm not just looking for a mud fight, but if he needs to address the black issue. But that's the elephant in the room, the one she's trying to avoid talking about. She wants a white elephant. I'm sorry, a black elephant, and not the white elephant. In terms of not getting into president's business, for those of you, I don't know how old some of y'all are, but I truly do want a little more Kamala. The Kennedy. I don't want to know who Jackie's sleeping with. We don't need to know all that. It's Jackie and Jack and the kids, and I don't know if they had a dog or not, but that's the life I want back. I truly want to live in Camelot again. Fairyland, La La Land, and yet things got done, and things were good back then in the 60s with Kennedy and Jacqueline Lee Bouvier Kennedy, descendant of Robert E. Lee, for those of you who don't know that, married a Kennedy. So, you know, we had it all in the Democratic Party, even the Republicans, she being a descendant of Lee. So, yeah, I want some dirt. I want a mudslide. And let's see who these people are. They're saying they know who Trump is, and they're, you know, playing on the cognitive issue and so on. You know, she'll probably take some hits at that. So yeah, let's get real. I'll tip my hat there. Thank you.
No problem. Now, I think coming from his side, that I think that the actual Republicans on his side are saying they want him to try to stay away from personal attacks, because I guess they feel like the public is going to vilify him and feel like he's picking on her if he hits too low or whatever. So I think his party is the one actually telling him, his actual his people actually telling him, you know what, just stick to the policy and don't go low, don't go with juvenile type cheap shots at her as well too, because they're gonna play upon the part that, hey, he's picking on her. And to a certain degree, I think the media is trying to spin like, hey, this is a man that's doing this to a woman as well too. So I think he's, at least he's been, from what I'm understanding, from what I've heard from different outlets and stuff like that, it seems like that they want him to go ahead and to try as much as possible to stay away from any personal attacks, stick to policy, stick to law, stick to whatever you can, but don't attack her on her personal life and this or that, whatever. Attack her on the record that her and Biden has, and on her own record as well too, as a prosecutor and everything, senator and everything else as well too. So attorney general, I should say. But that's my understanding.
Well, there's plenty there with her record as attorney general. Any other record she held, office she held prior to getting where she is. So yeah, there's enough dirt there. So I agree.
Absolutely. Thank you. Man, let me go ahead and get to Ricky. Ricky, I see you got your hand up. What's going on with you tonight?
What's up, Newstoter? Peace to the room. Big debate we got coming tonight. First and foremost, I think that Trump should go all in on the personal attacks. I think that really wins in politics, and this has been a nasty race. These races are always nasty. Go back to the 90s, all the stuff they went at Bill Clinton. Politics is a dirty game. Give the people what they want. What I would like to hear, what I would like to see, we have the prosecutor. I want to see if Harris is going to try to push her prosecutor persona and talk about the felon and all of that. And then I want to see, I'm sure they're both going to be crime zealots. Who's going to be pushing more mass incarceration? We know that they both agree on the issue. But in the midst of all of this crime hysteria that we got going on, they're going to talk about what's going on in Aurora, what's going on in various other places. I want to see who's going to try to out tough on crime the other one. I want to hear if they're going to say something about differences in their foreign policy. We know who Dick Cheney's backing. I want to see if Trump is going to try to differentiate himself from that, or whether he's going to go with the neocon agenda. Looking forward to hear about that. And are we going to have another Tulsi moment? We know that Harris is not quick on her feet. How is she going to look tonight? She hasn't been giving interviews. She hasn't been accessible. But come 9 o'clock, there's nowhere to run to. She's going to have to show and prove. Really looking forward to this debate. And I hope they also talk about housing. We got a housing crisis. They're offering people home loans and offering them housing opportunity. But it seems like all the people I know going through it, they haven't been offered anything. And I'll land there.
Well, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, because we've been talking about the mortgage and everything they're talking about in California, potentially giving it to actual illegals as well too, trying to get them in. They actually own a home here in America. So yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff that like you say, it could be a good one if he comes out and he rushes her. That could perhaps throw her off balance if he does come out. Now I don't know if she's planning on the personal attacks he may dish out her way. From my understanding, they said that she hasn't, like you say, she hasn't really been doing a whole lot of been seen lately. I heard that she was pretty much practicing for the past few days what I guess her team just going over this debate or whatever. So I guess she's been practicing like crazy. It's gonna be interesting to see exactly how this thing plays out because Trump, he may just go ahead. He's been told by the Republicans to go ahead and stay on the policy, but you know it's kind of hard for Donald Trump. He may go ahead and veer off and feel like that's his best chance to try to go ahead and rattle her as well too. Will she be able to survive what he does? That's gonna be the key. Will she get rattled, or will she, pretty much keep her cool and stay on point? That's worth seeing tonight. What's up to Original? Original, what's going on with you tonight?
Hey, peace, black power, and lineage-based reparations. Newstoter, I have to kind of disagree. I think he should go in on her. See, the issue is this. Some of these women, they want it both ways. They say they can do what a man can do, and then when it comes time to hit that button, they can't do it. Several years ago, some of these women started complaining that there wasn't any women in this special forces. And so they kept whining, said, well, we can do that. We can, they kept going at it. They said, okay, come on in. So they came in. They could not make it through the process. Going through the motions and doing all the training and this, that, and whatever. They didn't make. I think about maybe 2 studs made it through. But see, that's the thing. That some of these women continue to say that they can do what a man can do, and you basically cannot. And then when they get into these positions, they say there's room for a man if the man goes in on them. I'm like, no. You want to step into this arena, then that's what you're stepping into. So I'm not going to feel sorry for her if he goes in on her, and he should. Because see, remember now, he has set up money for the HBCUs. So that they have to come back like every year. So Jim Crow Joe and her, they reversed that. So she and Steve, they all, especially the Democrats, they always want to use the HBCU as a platform for Black America. All black children don't go to HBCUs, And so I think people need to look at that. But my main issue is that she wanted to wear the big boys' bras, but she got her big girl panties on. You can't do both. You're gonna have to do one or the other. Either you're gonna wear the big girl panties, or you're gonna put some man drawers on. That's just how it's gonna work. So it would be interesting to see this because, and especially, he could hit her and say like, why did the California Democrats begin a reparation for Black America? He could throw that at her and see how she responds. Or he could even say to her in an interview, when you was asked about reparations for Black Americans, you said you wouldn't do anything that would only benefit Black folks. Oh, he needs to go at her. But I want to see her squirm because of what she has done to Black folks. And no, she is not Black. I identify her as Black. She nor Barack are Black. They ran a game on Black folks, trying to make us believe that these people were Black, and they're not. Because they just think just because she have black skin that like DJ said earlier, that is not how it works. These people, and if we really want to look at it, there's an interview with Dr. John Carlos, and I'm gonna land on this. Dr. John Carlos, scholar, author, Olympic athlete from 1968 Olympics. He said he was born in 1945. He went to high school with this guy named Dennis Dykes. And Dennis would tell him, I'm not Black, I'm Jamaican. See, when these people would tell us who they are, we kept saying, oh, they don't understand or they just don't know. No, they understood and they know. they ain't black. They don't identify with us. So we need to get some clear, as they say, straightening about this in our land.
I will say most Jamaicans that I've met in my lifetime, they did identify here in Florida. The ones I know did identify as black. Now they will say they was Jamaican, like they'll tell you they Jamaican, but they did identify as black. But Kamala Harris, to my knowledge from seeing her, she never, like most, well, you never heard her come out, well, I'm a black woman. I've never heard her say I'm a black woman. And I know people say, well, she's biracial. She can't say that she's a black woman because she's mixed with this and that as well, too. But, I've never heard her say that. I've never heard her, just come out and say, yeah, I'm a black woman or this and that or whatever. It's, it seems like her race has been focused on more now since she's running for president than ever before. Like before, it wasn't about her being black or this or that or whatever. Now that she's black, that's been pushed to the forefront right there. Before, you never heard her talking about being a black woman and coming up this and that or whatever. And then automatically she goes to the HBCUs. Look, I had a boss that graduated from FAMU and he was white as milk. So going to the HBCU don't make you black. Now, sometimes you have people, Hispanics and everything else, especially here in Florida, Asians and stuff, they graduate from HBCUs all the time. So going to an HBCU does not make you black. Now, I know people say, well, she was in sorority. Okay, but I'm just being honest. That does not make you black, and I did not hear her identifying as being a black woman until it got election time. And then normally it's not her saying it, it's her supporters and it's her campaign people and it's her political party. I'm talking about her as a person. She hadn't come out and say, you know what, I'm a black woman. And I think even black people would feel would even feel a little bit different. Some black people, if she came out and said, you know what, I'm a black woman and I'm an Asian woman. I'm a black woman and I'm an Indian woman. But I've never heard her say that. Now, if she said it, I apologize, put the tape on or whatever, but I've never heard her say that. So until she says that, I think a lot of people, it kind of goes in one ear, comes out another. But then there are other black people that they fight harder about her race than anybody else. I mean, when I look at a lot of the magazines and the news sites and everything else that are pro Democrat and want to see her win, they push that her being black. They push that, oh, this is how your grandmama and your mama was, and they push this and they push the little screenshot with Ruby Bridges growing up to be her one day, and the only thing missing is her is Rosa Parks losing her seat and Kamala getting it. So that's pretty much the only thing missing now. So they pretty much have come up with that narrative that, hey, this is who she is and this and that or whatever. The interesting thing is I don't see the Indian American, the East Indian American community coming out in full support saying, hey, you know what, I support. I did have one article on a Newstoter where the actual, I think it was a little girl and she was saying, the parents was like, yeah, my daughter looks up to her and they're so proud of her and this and that. And she sees that she can be this and that or whatever. But I don't see as a whole, I don't hear East Indian people coming out and say, yeah, she's definitely East Indian, or we backing her, we're supporting her, and this and that, whatever. In fact, I wish we could actually post it was actual poll or something like that to let us know the actual support that she's getting from that community. I like to see exactly how many people in that community actually supporting her, actually going to vote for her, actually believe in her policies and everything else as well, too. The whole onus has been put on black people. Like, hey, y'all got to go ahead. Like, East Indian men aren't getting dogged out if they don't vote for her. If they don't vote for her, if they don't accept her, hey, it's whatever, it's fine. But if black men don't come out and say it, and you got other prominent black men, whether they be athletes, stars, movie stars, whether they're podcasters or whatever, they're saying basically, if you don't come out and support her, you hate women, you hate black women, you're afraid, you're this and that. So I'm not seeing this kickback from the East Indian community. I'm not hearing East Indian men being put out there. I'm not hearing, the media getting on them and putting a flashlight on them. It's like, hey, it's like they don't even exist. Like, you want to say that she's black and she's East Indian, but yet all of the attention, all of the focus outside of saying that she's East Indian is all on black people. It's like black people have to support her. Black people have to vote for her. Black people have to back her. And if you don't, then you're a tool of white supremacy or something like that. But I'm not hearing that with the East Indian. Hell, I'm not even seeing it with the East Indian women. I don't see East Indian women getting out there to the point like black women are doing, holding these Zoom meetings and everything else, and raising funds for her campaign and stuff. I don't see East Indian women for Kamala. Nobody sees it. Where is it at? You know, you got black women within a day raised over $1 million for her. Well, I should say after over a couple hours, black women and black men. So where's the thing with the East Indian community? Why aren't East Indian women, which would be beneficial for them, why aren't they getting out there? Why don't they have these coalitions? Why don't they have these major Zoom meetings where they got 40, 50,000 of them, and within 3 hours they're raising $1 million, $2 million? Where are they at? Since we always hear about how East Indians are high earners and their incomes are near the very top in America and everything else, and they're the tech geniuses and all this other stuff, why aren't East Indian men and women coming out with this support for Kamala Harris? Why isn't the media putting a bullseye on them, saying, you know what, if you don't vote for her, this and that, you're not hearing that. I'm not hearing it. I'm not seeing it. So, you know, that all of the things that they have to say for black people, black men and stuff like that, you know, that needs to be going to the East Indian community as well, too. Because if you say she's half black, half East Indian, or whatever vitriol you got for black Americans not supporting her, not standing up, that needs to be the same for the East Indians. But all you hear is crickets. You don't hear anything going over there. You don't hear any of the East Indian women. You don't see any of the East Indian men. You don't see the East Indian women telling the East Indian men you got to go ahead and support her. You don't see the media. I don't see MSNBC. I don't see CNN. I don't see CBS. I don't see any of what these quote unquote, what you consider a liberal progressive type network, pressuring East Indians into supporting Kamala Harris. You don't see that. It's only the only group in this country, and for that fact, no other group. They're not pressuring white men, white women, Latinos, none of them to go ahead and vote for her. The only group being pressured told her, hey, if you don't vote for her, you're a sellout, you're this, you're that, are black Americans. So if you don't vote for it, and they're telling us, hey, how are you going to define what black is? Everybody's telling us how you're going to define what black is. You can't define what black is. You don't have the right to define what black is. Nobody's telling East Indians that they can't define what an East Indian is. Nobody's saying this. So I'm just trying to figure out, why is that the case? Why is it okay to tell black Americans, especially black men, let's be honest, especially black men, because if she loses this election, everything is going to be put on black men. You know, when what's her name, Hillary Clinton lost that election, a bunch of white women, half of the white women in the country voted for Donald Trump. Half of them voted for Hillary Clinton. Was this lifelong feminist. She was all about female empowerment and this and that or whatever. She was all about, you know, she was this great progressive white liberal female. And when it was time for people to put up or shut up, they went ahead and they voted for Donald Trump, somebody who was not even a career politician at the time, somebody that was a reality show host. And they went ahead for somebody who had been in the White House 8 years, even though she was married to Bill Clinton. She wasn't the president, but she was in the White House 8 years, Secretary of State. All of it has just a wide array of political experience. The same white women that say, I can grow up and be anything I want to be. I can even be the president of the United States. When it was time for them to put up or shut up, they didn't sit up there and they didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. No, and I mean, and white women weren't shamed for losing that election for her, because the reason she lost that election was because of white women. Make no bones about it. So when Kamala loses this election, or if she loses this election, don't sit over here finger pointing at black men as well too. Because you didn't do it to white women. You're not going to do it to East Indian men or women. You're not going to do it to any other group in this country. The only group you want to put the blame at is on black people, in particular, black men. Duncan, go ahead and unmute your mic. You got it. How you doing tonight?
Oh, how y'all doing, man? Appreciate you holding the space, man. I just want to give my opinions about where they mentioned reparations tonight. I'm very comfortable in saying that they were not. I think they will use race. You know, reparations is a lineage-based thing, so they're gonna. To keep cause confusion, they're going to keep bringing up race. So they're going to be, the issue about if she black or not, it might come up, but lineage specific redresses, what I say, lineage specific tangibles. Well, I'll just say reparations. It would not be brought up. Tangibles and reparations are two totally different things. Tangibles, very vague. Affirmative action that we lost, by the way, was one seemed to want to fight for it because they did not remove Title IX aspect of reparations. They kept it was only affirmative action. It was only for race-based admissions. It wasn't about sexual orientation, gender, whatever the case may be, right? It was only race-based, so no one even wanted to fight for it, act like it wasn't a tangible that we lost. So that's something that, I don't know. Like I said, I just want to say that I don't think they're going to bring up reparations. If they do, that would be great. That would be great. I think just the fact that say if I'm wrong, and I could be, but if they did bring up reparations tonight, I don't think a lot of people will realize how groundbreaking that would be. For it to be a part of the political platform of the United States within both parties, it would be mentioned as something so important. I think all of us clearly remember we would be laughed out of a room for even talking about reparations. You think somebody owe you something, blase, blase. So hopefully tonight it will be talked about, but I think they probably have a bipartisan agreement that the contempt by our community, they will not mention it. And that's all I want to say.
All right, thank you, Duncan. Thank you. I don't think they're going to bring it up personally. I could be wrong because let's be for real. Neither party wants to have to pay it. Neither party wants to talk about it if they don't have to. Only time they'll address it is if they absolutely have no choice. And I think neither one of them is going to say it because they think it's going to scare off their base. So Trump's not going to say it, and Kamala's not going to say it either because the Democrats don't want to talk about it. And if we need any proof of that, look no further to California. So, so I really seriously doubt that. That'd have to be something. I don't expect that to come up in this debate. I could be wrong, but Kamala's not going to sit up here and talk about reparations, and she's trying to actually win the presidency because she thinks that's going to piss a number of the white Democrats off. So hey, she's like you got to be honest. Most white Democrats feel like reparations is a losing topic, a losing argument that is going to piss off too many white people in the party, and it's going to cause them to lose offices all throughout the country. So they're not going to talk about it. The only way they're going to talk about it is if you force them to, if you make them to. And I doubt in a debate like this right here. Now they're going to try. Donald Trump, he's smart. He's going to try to play the black card. He's going to talk about immigration. I guarantee tonight he's going to talk about immigrants taking black jobs. He feels that's a way that he can connect with black people. So that's going to be one of the talking things. Kamala's going to talk about she's going to talk about the HBCUs. She's going to talk about the cost of insulin, prescription drugs going down because only black people in this country have diabetes. So they'll talk about stuff like that. She'll talk about there's more black businesses created since Joe Biden was president. She'll talk about women's rights and abortion rights. So she'll mix and match some of the things like that as well too. She may even say that Trump told the other Republicans not to make any reform on the border while it was election time as well too. So she's gonna play to the usual.
You know what though? Another thing she will not bring up is removing marijuana as a Schedule I narcotic. I think Democrats feel they have this in the bag and they don't have no need to bring it up. So that's another important issue I don't think she'll bring up.
They're gonna bring up voting rights tonight as well too. She's gonna talk about voting rights as well too. And she's gonna talk about I've been listening to enough. I know they're gonna talk about the Donald Trump and Republicans trying to get rid of Medicaid and Medicare. So he's gonna talk about second right amendments. He's gonna talk about the border crisis. Like I said, he's going to bring in the immigration thing. He's going to talk about the economy was much better off and the prices, how everything has risen since the Biden administration. So, I want to see in between any new topics, any new talking points that they might bring up as well too. Gabriel, what's going on with you tonight? How you doing?
a shout out to the room. I just want to, just touch on a few things, but one thing I want to just address is, it seems like us as black people, black citizens that's born here in this country, we so caught up in this game of politics and politician. I mean, since the inception of this country, 1776, whether it's Democrat or Republican, president or vice president, it's only been damaging to the black community in this country. Whether Trump win, Kamala win, pigs still gonna be killing us out here in these motherfucking streets.
Hey, try not to curse. We streaming this, but go ahead.
And these people still gonna be lying to the black community just to cheat and get votes. Nothing is gonna change. So I feel that us as the black community, we need to let this system go, man. They're genius. White people that they pawn as a genius. Albert Einstein said it himself. The definition of insanity is to continue to repeat the same shit twice, same thing twice without a different result. Black people, we continue to vote Democrat. We continue to vote Republican. And we continue to be the only race that's always at the lower caste in this country. Nothing ever changes for us. So it don't make a difference whether Trump win this debate, Kamala win this debate. We as black people, we still will be the ones as the lower caste in this race. You got people that's voting Democrat now, can't even get a house. People just coming to this country getting everything that we've been working 30, 40, 50 years living in the same neighborhoods. Grandmas, daddies, aunts and uncles can't even get corner stores, barbershops in the neighborhoods. Because we still voting for the same system of politics that's keeping us as the lower caste race in this country, as the non-entities, as the ones that's unimportant, the ones that can make it one day. We have that sad one-day mentality. It don't make a difference what person go to school, what person take up political science, become a attorney general or what. Ain't nobody gonna change this same corrupt system that's built on racism against black people in general. Unless we adopt what our ancestors laid down the gangster blueprint for, which is Malcolm X and others, Huey P. Newton, Assata Shakur, gangster ancestors that laid down blueprints so we can start our own independent black nationalist system, separate from these people that never wanted us in the first place. And I just had to say that, man, because we getting caught up in some politics. While we all talking about this debate, how many black people we gonna wake up in the morning and got killed all over this country by pigs? They're still getting supported by this system of Democrats or Republicans. It ain't no Spanish people out there that's getting killed by them. It ain't no Asian people out there that's getting killed by them. It ain't no Jews that's out there getting killed by them. It's all black people every day. I can get killed right now if they come up in my house because I'm saying this. And it's true. And this same system will keep going. And we'll still have black people still voting for a system that's intent on keeping us as the lower caste race, unimportant human beings until we start our own black nationalist system and put that one day mentality out of us and start taking stuff now. Start uniting and starting our own independent system. And I'm going to land there.
All right. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you. I definitely don't think voting is the end all be all. I think like you said, I agree with you. We need to try to form our own economic base. I think that's always been, that's what we should have been focusing on first and foremost, get our economic base together and then go ahead and try to get the political power as well too. But I get what you're saying as well too. Where we're at, the system is against us and it always will be against us. Let me read a question real quick. What Monty Hall has. Monty says he is right. It's insanity. That's why we should be voting for the Green Party that have reparations and black specific policies in their platform. We will find every excuse to not vote for them. but find new ways to get the Democrats to neglect us. Shaking my head. Shaking my head. So shout out to Monty on that comment. We about 9 minutes away from the start of the actual debate going on tonight. Gabriel, real quick, what do you feel about that comment that Monty said about supporting the Green Party? You think that's still a waste of time as well, too?
Okay, he said supporting the what party?
The Green Party.
I've never heard of that party in my life, man. You know, I'm gonna just keep it 100 with you. Like me personally, I'm a 9-time felon. That's my second book. It's called 9 Else. Until how I became, changed and tried to become a different type of black man. Bottom line is, the only rights I was worried about getting back is my gun rights. Forget a voting right, man. It don't make a difference if it's independent, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican. If we black and we still voting for this same system that was built by slaves, such as the White House and the blueprint for Washington, D.C. was Benjamin Banneker, all that, man, we're going to still be the ones that's losing. We ain't going to never win until we adopt those black nationalist blueprint systems and plans, man, that work. It had the government and the system of this country shaking in their boots. When they seen Malcolm X, Huey P. Newton, all of them walking up in the government in the California state court, man, come on. You have 15-year-old brothers going in there telling them to free my people, man, because you're wrong. You crooked, racist system of government and legal. Until we adopt that mentality at this age, man, until we continue to fall for stupid comedians and entertainers that don't care nothing about us, just say something to us or do a little twerk stupid dance that's embarrassing to us as the black race and tell us to vote Democrat or vote Republican for a system that ain't never done nothing for none of us. For real, to be honest, I got a podcast called F Trump out 2-3 years ago on Spotify. But to be honest, the only president that ever did something for black people concrete was Trump. He put money in their pockets and they could do something. I know people, man, they had to go get what? Diapers, food, gas, a whole lot of shit. A whole lot of stuff, my bad. But when it comes to this system, man, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green, whatever you call it, it don't make a difference, man. Until we start adopting black nationalist, real, now type tactics instead of adopting one day, someday, we'll get it type of tactics. Boy, my grandma, her grandma, all of them been saying that same old song. Ain't nothing changed. And they still vote for this same system that's going on right now, this same politics, this same stupid, foolish, scripted debate. They've been doing the same method for over 40, 50 years, man. Except new technology and new cameras. Nothing different. They got this joint rehearsed, packed down to straight brainwash and mass deceive masses of people. And the most important, black. Why? Because we the majority. Of course, they need our votes the most. That's why you don't hear nothing about Indians or Jews or nobody else when it comes to voting. Man, we got to wake up, man. We got to get on some revolutionary-minded mentality stuff. Y'all follow me. Go to my website, man. Get some stuff that's going to get you ignited, get that fire up under you, bro. You know, this debate ain't nothing, dog. Like, for real, it's just politics, entertainment. Ain't nothing going to change for us unless we continue to do something different and come on some uniting and black nationalist independent stuff for us. Economic, health, agriculture, education, our own system, independent of their system. Some different stuff. This same stuff is never going to work. And I'm going to land up.
All right. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you. Go ahead, DJ, because I know it'll be starting up shortly, but go ahead. You in the space, DJ? I don't know if he's in the Matrix or not. He's got his hand up. DJ, you up in the space? I need to see if he's on. Maybe I may drop him down just to make sure he's not in the Matrix. Okay, DJ's gonna be the he's gonna be the actual sound man. So with the actual debate tonight. So we got to make sure. Hopefully, he's not experiencing any technical issues because the debate is about to start up here shortly as well, too. So, DJ, when you get a chance, go ahead and send you back the co-host invite. Okay. Yeah, I just sent you the co-host invite, DJ. So you should have got that. I don't know if you got. Did you get the co-host invite? Okay. DJ, you there?
I just messaged him on the phone, so okay, he must got.
Yeah, he's up here.
Yeah, I'm back. Mic check 1 2 1 2. My bad, y'all. You know what I mean?
Okay. Man, we was wondering what happened to you, man. Like, you disappeared.
Yeah.
I ain't Professor. I'm over here talking to cuz. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, because I know this thing should be getting ready to come on in a second. So I just wanted to make sure you was in place so we can go ahead and we can listen to this thing tonight. Y'all make sure y'all do follow Gabriel. He does a lot of articles as well too. He has a podcast, so go ahead and check him out as well, guys. Check him out. He's an author as well too. Matter of fact, he had a couple articles that I put on Newstoter over a year or so ago. So shout out to Gabriel.
Definitely, thank you too again for definitely a few articles that you put out on for your site too, man. But it's all it's all just revolutionary minded type stuff, man, to encourage us to start our own independent way of life system to get away from this system, man. So check me out if you want that type of stuff. Appreciate it.
No doubt. Matter of fact, we had a space on one of his articles one night last year as well. I can't remember which article it was, but we had
I definitely remember. It was a good one. It was called, I had an article and I got a podcast too on Spotify. If people want to check it out, it's called "Are We Black Men Afraid to Fight Back Against Police Brutality?"
Okay. We do so many of them. I forget, and that was a time when we was doing like 4 a week and stuff like that. So I need to go ahead and DJ been for the past year or so. We talk about we need to go ahead and get a podcast on Spotify as well too, man. So I haven't had the time, but I need to go ahead and do that too.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely need to go ahead and do that.
But that was a good topic, though. We had a good time on that, and that's a question some of us still need to ask ourselves today, as we continue to see, the foolishness that still go on with black men and police, black women, children, and with police today. At some point we gonna have to start defending ourselves.
Real talk. Like I said, y'all make sure y'all follow the brother and check out his wealth of information he has as well too. DJ, you about ready to go ahead because I know it should be coming on in a second. I'm assuming DJ's still there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I was gonna say get ready to this whatever channel on Fox. I'm sure they're gonna show it on all the damn major broadcasting stations tonight or whatever. So go ahead and get ready to get that line up, DJ, so we can go ahead. It's 9 o'clock, so it should be getting ready to start. I know everybody wants to hear this thing. Guys, make sure y'all support Newstoter on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, $Newstoter. Go ahead and become a member of the site. Support us for as little as $1.75 a month. That's up in the Jumbotron. It takes less than a minute to go ahead and create a profile. Matter of fact, my girl Tata right there, she's a member of the Newstoter.com platform. So is Black Majority State. So is Original as well, too. So is that Negro. So shout out to all of them. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling here. DJ, you setting it up?
Yeah, I'm here. Apologize, y'all. My cousin's her senior year, so we're trying to make sure she right. So I'm checking on her every day. You go to school, what happened? You know what I mean? But go ahead, though. I'm here, though.
No, I want you to go ahead and see what's up with getting the sound for the actual the debate.
All right, it's on right now. It's on right now.
and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris. It's up good to be. Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year, because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let President Harris respond on the economy.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all, in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of grievances and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump, will give you a minute to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite that you ever have to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists at that level cost consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out. When a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done for our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration, it's the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Let's see.
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
So the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's an execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in the car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade. As President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting, and it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states, and I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie, and as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working one or two jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris.
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, they should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month? Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask that question?
Why don't you answer the question with your
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question with your
you
veto.
could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month, and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill, more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there. And then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I see people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
The people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But
television.
the people on
I'm taking it
television
from the
say
city
my
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me they can write books, with nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy, look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists, they have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you have no problem using the U.S. military. You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah. It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes. But it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in. And all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal 5,000. Get this. He was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases, and then they say, "Oh, he's a criminal." They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, "Oh, that's the toughest of them all." A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault. Campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking, because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing I handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people. I intend to be that president.
President Trump,
well, first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him, but I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, or we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil. These are not good things for the environment.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world, and crime rates are down all over the world because of it. But when are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand that former president has been impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, said the former president and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed. Those people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short. Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge it at all. I said that sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them.
No judge looked at it and said they said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The President of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker, so he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7th, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation. And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And she's the one that caused it. That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way, gets paid a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
All right, y'all. What do you want to break? I got you drinking. You got to pull up. Oh, man. What's up? What's up? My bad. I was just on these kids.
Hey, look, I like how you said Joe Biden hates your guts.
Yeah, hey, yo. I'm sorry. Jersey going red, yo. It's over, yo.
That shit is over.
My bad, bro. Go ahead, son.
Man, y'all just gotta laugh at this shit. This damn thing. Just a laughing stock, man. Cause both of them ignorant as hell. I don't like neither one of them. I'm just gonna keep it real. I don't like neither one. But I did like the fact that he said, "I just got a little secret for you. To be honest with you, Joe Biden don't like you. He hates your guts." I love it. Lager. You know what? Now you know what? I believe that. That one I do believe. I do believe that because you got to think. If you go back to when they first was running, back in 2020, Joe Biden and Kamala were not close. They were not close. When they had that debate during the Democratic primary, you can remember they got into it. About the whole segregation and
And she called him an old racist and all of that. So they don't click for real. So so when Donald Trump said this tonight, which you just heard a few minutes ago, that Joe Biden hates you, hell, I believe that shit right there.
Watch the language. Hey, so,
Yeah. I'm back. I had stepped away for a second, but yeah. Watch the language, guys. Was that it? Because I just stepped away. Was that the end of it?
Nah, they on break, yo. They coming back.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say
One thing I heard them say,
Hey, hold on, Duncan. Hey, Early, fix your phone. I don't know what's up with your phone, bro. Fix your phone. Go ahead.
yeah, they made, both of them made good points. I like the fact that Trump called them out about how they said they was gonna execute babies after birth, and even the moderator, she didn't deny it. She said that they are not doing it right now. She didn't deny that they was planning on doing it. She said that they're not doing it right now. Now, another thing that Kamala pointed out, she said that Trump can't be trusted. He can be bought out by dictators for doing personal favors for him. And I don't know, I can kind of see him being like that. I can see him being like that, And I do remember when he was up there calling the Proud Boys, he didn't want to criticize the Proud Boys. I remember that. So I think they both hitting hard, but like I said, the guy whoever said that, I think we stuck between a rock and a hard place. Both of these are bad candidates, and we keep getting bad candidates. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well.
No, right.
And there you go, Duncan. That is the truth. They both bad, and we are in trouble in this country. My brother Ely, what's up? What's up with you, man? Go ahead.
Hey, Ely, we can barely hear you. We can barely hear you.
Your phone messed up, dog.
Yeah.
You gotta fix that thing. Update Twitter. Twitter updated, y'all. Twitter updated. Go update Twitter.
Is it back on, DJ?
Nah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'll let you know when it's back. It should be.
I was just saying, man, I ain't got nothing good to say, man. And I think they're all talking globally. You know what I'm saying? And you see how she just missed the dang on immigration thing. Everything's about to go AI. They got all these immigrants coming over here. Trump pointing out that the criminals coming over here. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna have to devise. We gotta get offensive now, man. You know what I'm saying? Time out for all this. We gotta get real offensive now as far as like generational wealth. Because this job, man. That ain't gonna work out.
Hey, they back, Ely. Yeah, they back.
This historic ABC News presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
your time is up. Just to clarify the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that this war would be over is because he would just give it up. Let's understand what... I actually... Zelensky, before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to define one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow, quiet please, he would have been sitting in Moscow much happier than he is right now. But eventually, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war, because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. and the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate as soon as they left. Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said you went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be Commander-in-Chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than that, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
and
on.
These people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. but they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. She's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad that she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Time's up.
I want to respond to that. I want to respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump, we have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President.
Fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay,
that's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need to
President Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to respond to.
I'm sorry, we're gonna move on, Vice President Harris. President Trump, this is now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it. That's his prologue in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot.
Made a mistake. And number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It was all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We could do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to do. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. they're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue. All right. I know Ely was up here before, but he may have stepped down. So I didn't know if anybody wanted to speak real quick while we were at a commercial break. It's not much longer. The debate is. Who think?
Trump winning. That's how I see it. He's winning, and she ain't doing the same old thing but cosplaying. Shit, that's all she's doing. But anyway, Trump is winning. But like I said, we in trouble in this country no matter what. None of this. Anyway, black people vote. We gonna lose anyway. So there you go.
Let Miss Cleopatra. She had her hand up. Let me let her go real quick before they come back from break. But go ahead, Miss Cleopatra.
Hey, I wanted to quickly say great job as always. But I wanted to quickly say that, both were kind of misleading. But even with Kamala, and everyone knows that we're doing the disaggregation. She wants to say Obama is the first black. I would just tell people, if there's anything that you want to do, irregardless of who gets into the White House, I highly suggest that you be just as bold as them. Just as bold. I know with the Black Chamber of Commerce, if you have a business, perhaps you should be there. If you go to Instagram and you see when we have Black History Month and Black Business Month, we're not always being featured in those timelines, and those spaces and places, and we should be the featured person, the featured group, whatever. But if there's anything that you want to do, I highly recommend you be very bold about it, because these are two bold candidates. And Kamala, with her not claiming her true identity, just makes me a little like, I don't know. At any rate, this has been interesting.
Facts on that. Yeah, facts on that, sister. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Mic check 1 2 1 2. So yeah, hey, Trump,
yeah, we hear you.
Hey, Trump, why didn't you just say Black Americans are saying she not black? That's all you had to say. You know what I'm saying? Don't be scared to say it. You know what I'm saying? We are saying that she is not one of us. I know you like the song Kendrick Lamar, not like us. My little homie, little nephew gonna be at the Super Bowl. Stay mad, Lil Wayne. It's all right. Because you saw Mike Brown. You don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about what's going on with Mike Brown. You know what I'm saying? All right, bro. You're right. Now you getting snubbed for the Super Bowl in your own city. You know what I'm saying? Kamala laughing. So, yeah, Trump, this is why you got to meet with us, man, the folks on the ground, man. Hey, look, this is all you got to say, bro. So, and just to get back to what folks said up here earlier about Trump holding his own weight, that's what I tried to tell you. All you got to do is remain calm, stay on the facts, the border. That's all you got to talk about is the border, yo. Because everything that's happening right now in this country is a result of mass immigration. It ain't so much about a war yet. We funding Israel and Ukraine because Biden said we got enough money for both wars. Why is that? Because Black Americans pay our taxes on time. No one else here pay their taxes on time. white folks don't need to be on some tax evasion 24/7. We on time. So as long as we paying our taxes every year, they gonna have money to fund whatever they need to fund. Don't vote Democrat, yo. It's over with, man. Don't vote.
Real talk. Up in the Jumbotron, I just put a poll up in there, guys. It's about who won the debate. I know we got getting ready to do the closing, but I put that it's on the left-hand side, who won the debate. So go ahead and retweet that out and go ahead and pick your winner, if it's a draw, if it's a tie, whoever you think, go ahead and put that. It's not, we about to close it up. It's not gonna go too much longer. They get ready to hit their closing. Okay. Go ahead.
And when it ends, please join us for analysis of tonight's key moments. Our team will break it down. As we enter the final sprint to Election Day, we'll go back to the debate and closing statements.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis. Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hope, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on. with Russia and Ukraine, we're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
All righty. And that concludes the debate for the night. Guys, definitely come on up here. Let me hear you guys what you got to say. The admin, go ahead and unmute your mic. You got it.
Thank you. I'll say I enjoyed the debate. No substance, but a couple of moments that I wanted to comment on. Y'all all recall the Tulsi Gabbard, Kamala Harris incident where Tulsi tore her a new one, and all Kamala could do was stand there and try not to go through the floor. That's where she wanted to go. She wanted to disappear. I noticed probably 5 or 6 incidents where Trump created a Tulsi Gabbard moment, and what Kamala did to deflect from wanting to go through the floor is she put her hand on her chin, under her chin, and she smiled and looked at Donald and said, yeah, what, so what, trying to blow it up. But that was her technique of not having another Tulsi Gabbard moment. The other situation where Trump had a Reagan-Carter moment where he said, there you go again, when during this debate, when Kamala was interrupting him, Trump said, I'm talking now, or I'm speaking now. Sound familiar? What that reference was, when Kamala was debating Pence, Pence kept interrupting her, and Kamala repeatedly said, I'm speaking now, I'm speaking now, I'm speaking now, I'm speaking now. Trump said, sound familiar? So he got her at least twice, if not, well, more than that, but those are the 2 that I specifically recall. I'll tip my hat there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Duncan, I saw you had your hand up. We got any other speakers want to speak as well, too, guys? Feel free. We're not going to keep the space going too much longer, so I'm trying to get those up who want to speak and talk about the debate. Come on up here. Let us know who you think won the debate as well, too. What was the strong points for either candidate? What did you think either candidate may have struggled with? So come on up here. Let's get it in while we can. Come on up. You got it, Duncan.
Thing I want to point out is I was saying, like we were talking about before it started, how when social justice comes up for Black Americans, what can we do to stop racism? And I was saying, it was so disrespectful. I ain't gonna lie, I was disgusted by how they handled it. They only had one thing about that, and they pivoted very fast, if you notice. The only thing they brought up was, is she Black or not? When we are galvanizing around lineage, everything, and it's just more than just that. We can bring up, like I said, I think removing marijuana from a Schedule 1 narcotic would be huge in stopping the war on drugs, right? Nobody seems to give a care about that, right? But like I'm saying, the only thing they brought up was, is she Black or not? And then now she didn't even say, okay, this is my policy towards social justice, ending racism. Trump could have been like, hey, they tried to assassinate me, these neo-Nazis. This is my strategy against neo-Nazis and domestic terrorism. And it was she Black or not? Man, I swear, man. And guess what? I'm gonna tell you this. no one will be outraged about how they basically minimize, if you come up with a better word, please do. The way they disregarded social justice and moved on so fast. They talked more, and I'm going to land by saying this, they talked more about Israel, Ukraine, and all that other stuff more than the human rights struggle of American citizens, especially American citizens who come from the lineage of slavery. Those people are disgusting. And the moderators were disgusting, by the way.
All right. Yeah, I thought the moderators was a little bit biased, I thought, in terms of how they handled Trump. Yeah, I thought they were a little bit biased. They seemed to gave her a lot more leeway and kind of criticized him and kind of chastised him a little bit, tried to keep him in line a little bit more as well too. So I thought they were a little bit biased in their handling of how they should just been moderators. You ask a question and you let the people respond or whatever. But I thought they kind of ran a little bit of interference. Just my personal opinion. Just my personal opinion.
Am I delusional? Did they press past like social justice very fast?
Yeah, they didn't speak on it a whole long time. They didn't.
Yeah, they only made it about her being black enough. Unless I'm tripping.
No, you good. Let me go ahead. Appreciate that, Duncan. Let me go ahead and get a couple of the new speakers up here as well, too. If I missed the order of everybody, I'm sorry about that. Hey, guys, we've been on here almost 3 hours, and we ain't got $1 donation to the Cash App. I know we can get somebody to go ahead and donate $1 to the Newstoter platform. $sign Newstoter, $sign Newstoter. Largest Black-owned Black American news media curation platform today. So I know before we end this space tonight, I know we can get at least one person to donate one George Washington to the Newstoter platform, guys. Let me go ahead and get to my girl Jess Cakes. Jess Cakes, what's going on with you tonight?
Hey Rob, how are you?
Hey, what's up, sweetie?
Hello. Happy. How you doing?
Real quick, who won?
Of course Trump won. But I'm gonna say that Kamala didn't do as bad as I thought she was. I'm not gonna hate on her like that. I really don't like her. I don't care for her. But I just thought she was gonna be a complete dumpster fire without her little notes, and she made such a big deal about it. I like the fact that Trump kept holding her to task with the border and stuff like that. Now she was ducking. She was trying to deflect away from the accountability and taking control of that. And actually, the fact that she could do something now, to show the American people, like, do something in good faith. Y'all done so much negative stuff to the economy and immigration and stuff. Show us a kind gesture while you still in office and while you still got power. And I think that's why ultimately she has no chance in winning, just because they took everything Trump did good and they pretty much ruined it. And the last thing I'm going to say is that bad faith argument she had when she was like, well, he had the worst economy and the people tells it was the worst it's ever been. It's bad faith like that. We all know we was going through the pandemic. So to sit there and blame him for something that's out of his control, I would say an act of God, but it was nothing godly about it. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. She did better than I thought, but she still didn't hammer it home for me. It's still a no for me. Come on, Trump.
Okay, my man Polo Styles said on YouTube that Fox News is even saying that Kamala Harris won. So I don't know. Let me go ahead. Thank you, Jess Cakes. Thank you, sweetie. Let me go.
Yeah, Fox News got sued by Dominion for $1 billion. They can't say nothing. Yeah, next.
Let me go ahead and get the Quadir. Quadir, what's going on with you, bro?
Hey, what's up, Toner? What's up, Room?
What's up?
What up? Jersey in the building. What's good? Yeah, the debate. I came in late, right? And when I came in, Kamala was speaking, And just like the lady before me said, honestly, I'm gonna keep it a buck. She ain't do as bad as I thought she was gonna do. I expected her to be dodging much more. I wasn't expecting her to have long, thought out kind of ish answers. But that's just my take, right? But however, I still think Trump was roasting her. I don't think both of the candidates said anything substantial. I think it was more just roasting each other. I haven't heard Amy real policies. I mean, I think Trump actually touched on policies more to me. He touched on policies a little bit. Kamala, I haven't heard any policies from her. It was just a bunch of "I will do this" and a bunch of catchphrases that will make people feel good and all hopey. But I haven't heard anything substantial. At least Trump talked about fracking and prices and stuff like that. So that's my take on that. But he was roasting. If he want to go into a roasting battle, Trump definitely won that in a landslide. He said one of the funniest things to me is when he said when he asked, "Where's our president?" We have a president who doesn't even know that he's alive. I was hollering when he said that. I was hollering for a minute. I was crying for a minute. I ain't gonna hold you. But I will say this, right? I will say this, right? I think the most important thing that Trump said, in my opinion, now mind you, forgive me, I did come in late, like I mentioned earlier, but he did say something important, and it was this closing statement. Everything that Kamala Harris promised to do, Trump came back and said, "Listen, all that you're saying," she started off saying that she's going to do this, that, and the third. She's in office now. Why aren't you doing it now? It's because you aren't going to do it. You don't want to do it. That was it. And that came at the perfect time. I think that alone would make people vote for Trump. That's just my opinion, my take. And I'm going to yield the mic there.
All right. Thank you, Quadid. Thank you. Like I said, we're trying to get all the speakers up here, guys. So come up here if you want to go ahead and get it in. Let me go ahead and get the black majority state. Black, what's going on with you tonight?
Hey, good evening. Interesting debate. Trump was fighting against the moderators. He said something that I thought was actually really, really important that I've actually said recently when he talked about the illegal immigrants being in prison and getting trans surgeries. That probably is not going to mean a whole lot to a lot of people, but I think that is actually very, very important. I got a guy who is a huge. He's not a Trump fan, but he wants Trump to win. So the conversations we have are about that. And I've tapped out of this election. I really don't care who wins at this point because it's not going to make a difference for Black America. But I was thinking, like most people, like the other two people have just said, that it really is going to come down to, does Kamala show up? Is she competent? And whether or not her sister girl routine will play. And what I heard was not so much any sister girl stuff, to be quite honest. Now, people said she was doing things visually that I can't see, just listening to it, so maybe it came out visually. But just listening to it, for me...
Facts on the facial expressions. There you go, bro.
Yeah, so listening to, for me, Trump sounds like she kept saying, the same old same. I didn't hear anything new from Trump. It was him saying the same things he said, and I think the moderator said something like 9 years ago. This was their time running. So I think if you are a Trump voter, supporter, you've heard what you expected to hear, and you're satisfied. But Kamala didn't crash and burn, and in fact, with this business where I've had to interact with people who are not on Twitter and who are vote blue no matter who type people, just regular Black Americans, what I get out of this is that she did win. If Fox News said that they got her winning, she's already winning in the polls, whether people understand that or not. Which is the reason why RFK got out of the race, because he was hurting Trump. If she is legitimately winning in the polls enough to make this guy step down to try to help Trump, and Trump is not focusing all of his attention on those battleground states where the presidential election is actually decided, it may be a thing where she ends up winning. I feel at this point, 56 days into this thing, that she is the winner. And unless she does something like that is just way out of character, it's going to be hard for him to win. And here's the reason, and I made a post about it. He talked about his 75 million votes. Well, Biden had 81. I think when I did it the last time, it was a difference of 6 or 7 million. Now, every election, they typically get more votes. So typically what will happen is she'll go from 81 to maybe 85 million, let's say, and he'll have to get almost 90 million votes in order to win, which means she only has to increase a little bit, but he has to increase significantly by 10 plus million votes. And I think his problem is he's fighting against himself and the fact that he may or may not be able to get that extra 10 million votes. So really, he's got a lot of work to do over these last 56 days. He really has got to get the vote out. Having rallies are great, but he needs the voters to show up because they didn't show up in 2020. And I don't see that he's done anything. He didn't go up in the polls when that assassination attempt happened. It didn't help him at all. He may actually fall in the polls after this debate. And so I think he's really got to get very serious about where he's going to get these extra 10 million votes or 8 million votes or whatever that number is. Otherwise, this is going to be a repeat of 2020 for him.
Thank you, Black. Now, I thought when he actually got the shooting, it did seem to raise his numbers up a little bit. He actually had the lead until actually Kamala Harris came in and actually replaced Joe Biden. And since, she came in and took over Joe Biden's spot, she's kind of surged a little bit. And it's really the polls. I mean, people have to look at it. I mean, I saw a poll today where it was 48% to 49%. I mean, you take in the margin of error, it's pretty much right now. I mean, you're splitting hairs. So, and another thing too, I look at with these polls back in, 2016 when Hillary Clinton and Trump were running against each other. Most of the polls leading up to it had Hillary Clinton ahead. So I assumed that Hillary Clinton, I was kind of in shock. I'm not going to lie. At the time, I voted for Hillary Clinton because, I was, voting Democrat and stuff like that as well too. So I was in shock when Donald Trump defeated her that night. But she was pretty much, because I was like, well, this guy don't have a chance. He's just a reality show. He's a loudmouth or whatever. Like, and people are like, yeah, well, the polls are close and this. I'm like, yeah, he's not going to do anything. So at this point in time, it's kind of hard to say it's nip and tuck. It's splitting hairs at this point in time. But I don't think whether you think he won, I don't think he really did himself no favors tonight. I think that he would actually been better off. And I thought they actually weren't going to do an actual debate tonight. I think he would have been better off actually not doing a debate because, like everybody said, she didn't. And I think everybody was kind of expecting her to lose her composure and to be, laughing hysterically and just kind of all over the place or whatnot. But she wasn't. She was up to the task tonight, and whether you think he won or she won, she didn't do herself any disservice, and that's just being real. Trump was the same Trump as always, but she really didn't do herself any disservice tonight. Like I said, I think she did get a little bit of interference ran from her by the actual moderators in there as well too. But if I was him, especially at the age that he's at as well too, and I think when you get a certain age like that, I think that you kind of, if you're in politics, I think you need to kind of steer away from the actual debates. It's one thing when you had him and Joe Biden, two two elderly men up there going back and forth or whatever, but you know, they put somebody a little bit younger in there that had a little bit more pep in the step. And, you know, it wasn't anything like we saw a couple months ago with Joe Biden and him, like that snooze fest, and Joe Biden could barely keep his eyes awake in there and stuff like that. So, you know, just from the appearance that, hey, she did much better than Joe Biden, a lot of people are going to give her the win as well too. So you gotta look at it the way, like that way as well too. But, you know, I don't think she didn't embarrass herself, anything like that. I don't know whether, you know, whether you say she won or she lost or whatever, but you know, she wasn't an embarrassment tonight. So I'll give her that. And, you know, Trump was, like you say, Trump sounds the same as always. Like Trump sounded the same when he was against Hillary. He sounded the same against Joe Biden. He sounded the same as this time as well too. So it's pretty much, you know, with Donald Trump, what you gonna get. But, you know, I think this is the first time that really you had the vice presidential. I think I can't remember. She did a vice presidential debate. I'm sure she did, because the vice presidents do last time. But, you know, I think a lot of people that you're gonna have a significant amount of people that's gonna pick him, and a significant amount that's gonna pick her as well too. And if Fox News is you know, is predicting them, you know, Fox News they don't want to go ahead and say that she won the election. But, you know, I thought it was a pretty close one, whether it went her way or his way. I thought it was pretty close, but I think for the simple fact that, hey, she stood up a lot better than most people did. Because, like I said, I had heard that for days in advance that she had been prepping for this thing. I wonder if Donald Trump for the past few days had actually been prepping, putting in the kind of time that she's been putting in as well too. So let me go ahead and get to Ariza. Ariza, go ahead and unmute your mic. And y'all, we still waiting on that at least that $1 Cash App donation as well too. So before we leave tonight, we got to get that $1. But go ahead, Ariza, you got it.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Hi everybody, it's Renza. I'm here in Anchorage, Alaska. Shouts out to the room. I see you, DJ. FBA Goddess, State. We already know. One love. Thank you for having me here on the panel. I'm gonna make this real short and sweet because I'm at a stalemate in terms of the debate. You see, the policies that they have are handled by the elite, and they chose what side to support in these issues. Because even though those issues matter, the issues didn't really reflect on us. You see, for me, it was the way, it was the things that they didn't say that got me concerned. Okay, the border issue, I lost a cousin on the border to some mess. And the aid to Ukraine and Israel made it more, the theme of it was more like white issues. But the black voters, who are a factor in every election, it didn't really give me a feeling that we had a spot in this debate. And the black factor, primarily with, say, reparations, was missing. So, yeah, all the other stuff they said was important, but they didn't really talk about how to help us. So they got all these other political areas covered, but I was looking for some substance that talked about us. And that $6,000 plan, in what time frame? That's nothing in this day and age. I mean, we're dealing with $1 trillion economy, whether it's domestic or global. And $6,000 is just not going to cut it. I know people who have monthly rents that are a little bit more than half that, like $38,000 to $4,000 a month. So I don't understand where she's coming from. And then also with Donald Trump, there's some issues there too. And I don't want to dig too much in his past. I'm just going to say that on this debate, primarily, if I had to judge who won it, it would be a stalemate for me. Well, by the way, in case you guys wonder why she's looking more presidential, you got to thank Obama's campaign manager, because what you saw was Obama on that stage. If you go back and look at the video, her body language is almost a carbon copy of the way Obama carried himself, just so you know. And I'll land my plane there. We want everybody.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ariza. Let me give a shout out to Major and ASOP for their contribution on Cash App. Thank you for the love. I'm glad we didn't have to close the show out with at least was able to get somebody to go ahead and bring that dollar in. So thank you, family. We appreciate that. Let me go ahead and get to Miss Rella. Rella, what's going on? Long time no hear.
Hey, Newstoter. Hey, Professor DJ. Shout out to the family in the room.
What's up, Rella?
Hey. So it was so much to unpack, Newstoter, and I hope you do a part 2 to this because we really, really need to get down to the nitty gritty. I am still pushing for a third party. At this point, I'm even thinking about Cornel West and Abdullah, anybody besides these two at this point, because at the end of the day, when you listen to both of them, yes, Kamala she was more polished. If I had to be, on the flip side of things, she was more polished. And when you listen to what Trump was saying, he hasn't said anything differently than what we've seen all across social media. And if you ask me, I was more embarrassed because, the world is kind of laughing at us. We got somebody that really don't take the presidential election seriously. Him and his family take it as a joke. Because I do believe that they probably look at, white America as they're going to give them the votes anyway, ignorantly. But then at the same time, he really doesn't have to show up and actually speak about our issues that impact us as Americans. And neither does she, which is why she avoided the question so nefariously about when Jake asked, why does, what is your response to him questioning your blackness? Anybody who is from the soil would say we have so many issues that happen and the impact of what's happening to us, even to the point where the newly issue with Tyreek Hill, that just happened, or Sonia Massey. None of that actually was brought up in regards to policy when you're talking about protection and even providing a protective class status for Black Americans who've been consistently in a system of genocide in different ways. So medical apartheid wasn't brought up. The only thing she brought up was the conversation around, women owning the autonomy of our bodies. And I'm or you've heard this, of having autonomy of your body is the discussion around maternal health, both pre, during, and after. It is not just a discussion that you just lingeringly want to use abortion as the scapegoat to ignore the fact that medical apartheid happens to us. So knowing that neither one of them have a clear direction, and Trump goes, that issue has just always been, controversial. Why is it controversial? We're talking about reproductive rights. We're talking about things that men and women do to create babies. That shouldn't be controversial. It should literally be something that you can have a conversation about policy to protect both parties and a baby. But at the end of the day, you didn't hear none of that. You didn't hear America in this discussion. What you heard was mudslinging. I felt like I was watching Jerry Springer back in the 80s, 90s, and that they really was only talking about themselves. Let's keep it all the way 100. And that they really wasn't really bringing up anything that's going to revolutionize the country. Now, I will say that I did like her response to the environmental situation. I do believe that people like Moses West, and shout out to the gentleman who lost his life at the New York Buffalo mass shooting, who created the car engine that would have ran on water. I feel like these are revolutionary things that should be implemented into policy where Black Americans get the ability to revolutionize and ingenuity and bringing us into the next century, because we need stuff like that if you wanted to really get away from fracking. But, they're not going to have those conversations, right? Because none of that was in the discussion. None of it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to just put it to you like this. I'm for a third party, and we have third party options, and we really need to start exploring that, because I don't see, having a clown run the show no more. And I definitely am not voting Democrat or blue, no matter who, just because if you're not going to be talking about reparation and reparative justice for Black Americans, because we are Americans. So I landed there. Peace, love, and I.
All right. Thank you, Miss Rella. Thank you. Hey y'all, if y'all haven't voted in that poll yet, that poll is gaining some steam. I think we got like 1,600 votes up in that poll. So definitely it's up in the Jumbotron. It's also in the blue and the purple pill as well, too, guys. The purple comment section here in the space. So it's up in the Jumbotron and it's in the purple comment section. Something like over 1,600 votes so far. So if you guys have not voted, go ahead and vote in that poll. Let me read it real quick. I got you, FBA Goddess. I ain't forgot you, sister. You next. I just wanted to we got 1,687 votes. 55% says Donald Trump won. 38% said Kamala Harris. 3% said a tie. 4% says not sure. So let me go ahead and get to Miss FBA Goddess. I see you down there too, Boykin. I got you next after that. FBA, what's going on tonight, sweetie?
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? I actually watched it. I hate to say it, to me, Kamala did pull it. I mean, she was very polished, and as she said, that did remind me of Obama all over again. I'm not saying it because I like her. I don't want her to win. But one thing I don't like that she did is keep on bringing up old shit, like, you know, what he did when he back when the rental. I'm sorry, the rental and things of that nature, and also keep on bringing up the Central New York. I want to hear about the policy. I don't want to hear any of that old stuff. I don't want to hear them picking at each other. That's all I saw tonight. I didn't see anything that was that I could get from this tonight, all except for them going at each other. And what it amounts to for me is that I won't be voting. I'm not voting for any one of them. I'm going to be sitting on my ass and letting this shit play out, because this all is some bull crap. I'm sorry, again. This is all the bull crap between both of them. We don't have two candidates to me at all. I'm here to say it as of what they said tonight. We don't have any candidates. I didn't hear anything about me as a black woman, me as a black person. You know, I didn't hear any of that. What are they going to do for Black America? That's what I was waiting for, and I didn't hear any of that. So if I don't hear any of that, then what am I going to go out there to the poll for? It's nothing for me, so I'm not wasting my gas for any of that. Now, unless somebody comes through from here on out, I'm not voting for anyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna, because I see Jess Case is trying to get back up here, so I'm gonna drop one of the speakers. If one of the speakers wants to drop, that would be cool, and then I can bring Jess Cakes up here. So
yeah, I'll drop.
You'll drop. Okay, somebody already dropped, so I got it coming up here. Let me go ahead and get to and thank FBA Goddess as well to let me go ahead and get Boykin up here. Boykin, how you doing tonight? Real quick, Abdul says, where's the poll for YouTube? Abdul, I just did the poll just a second ago, like as the debate was getting ready to draw down. I'm over here on X or Twitter, so I apologize for that. We should have put one over there on YouTube as well, but I do apologize for that, Abdul. Let me go ahead and get to Boykin. Boykin, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hi, good evening. I will try to keep the language clean and the discussion rated PG.
Absolutely, thank you.
Because I was cussing mad. Neither candidate brought up the state of Black America. What we face, our issues with the economy, how immigration adversely impacts us, our economic standing, inflation, how that hurts us more because, let's be real, our economic condition is the worst of all ethnic groups in this damn country. In this country, excuse me. And the only reason why I think Kamala came across as polished was because she was sober. She was sober enough to take the information from Obama's press secretary and his team, and she laid off the sauce long enough to hold it, to keep her lies straight. All right? She knew that Trump was going to take her off script. she knew that Trump was going to go straight for the jugular. So she held her own. I have to give her that. But again, she was trained as a prosecutor, okay, in California. So if you pass the bar in California, and California has the second hardest bar to pass, you can hold your own, all right? As far as disinformation and misinformation, I give Trump the edge because he got her own policy, okay? Fact checking, he got her on some facts, some key facts. You know how we say in sports, the ref took the game? Well, the moderators took the debate from Trump and gave it to Kamala, because a lot of the stuff that he said, the regular media doesn't want out there. And he was saying some stuff, and I was fact checking him online, some of his half-truths and lies of commission and omission, but on a lot, he said a lot more stuff that was true, and you can fact check that than she did. So, Kamala held her own. She kept her composure, but honestly, it was like watching a bunch of high schoolers go at each other in a classroom setting. It's like 12th grade, and you got two kids who are real smart, and they're going at each other. And you know they don't like each other, and it's personal, but you just have to tell them, hey, pull up. You're showing bad form. And really, Kamala has to accept the fact that she's the vice president. And when Trump just laid it out on the table, she could go down to Washington, D.C. and close the border. She can do that. When he said up front that she was responsible as the border czar or czarina, she could do better. He had her on that. And she was going to fight back. I expected her to, because she's the vice president. But realistically, she couldn't, snow people on stuff. In the public appeal to humanity, she was good with that, looking into the camera and appealing with emotion and reason and things like that. But I'm a woman, and when she brought up the whole abortion issue and reproductive rights, she was off base, way off base, especially with black women. We know maternal health care is the biggest issue, lack of access to prenatal, maternal, and antenatal or postnatal care. All right, let me also tell you something else about her lies she was talking about with insurance. Okay, Kaiser Permanente, that's big insurance. She is their poster child. So this is the whole nonsense about how she supports healthcare and government healthcare. No, she doesn't. It's Kaiser Permanente and Big Pharma pay her to go against using the government to get lower healthcare premiums. Once again, vice president, she can advocate for that. In fact, 2 bills that came through recently, earlier this year, she didn't cast a tiebreaker on that. No. When they tried to renew the premiums for ACA, Obamacare, and it was the Democrats who voted against renewing the premiums. She didn't cast no tie-breaking vote on that. I know, because I just chewed out my congressional representative about why the Democrats in Congress didn't vote to renew. Is that overall, my opinion, the Electoral College decides, all right? And the Electoral College is made up of the money people, all right? And as far as I'm concerned, I only care about what's going on in my state and in my county, because that's where I need to pay attention the most. Thank you for letting me up on the stage, and I yield my mic.
All right, guys, I'm in the matrix over here. Yeah, I'm in the matrix over here on YouTube. I'm trying to.
Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was in the Matrix. I was trying to come out. I was in the Matrix for a minute while she was speaking. I could listen to her, but I couldn't. I was trying to unmute my mic, but okay. Thank you, Boykin. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was up in the Matrix pretty good. Let me get to Miss Dark and Lovely. Dark and Lovely, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. May I be heard?
Hey, how you? Yeah. Go ahead. You got it.
Okay. Is it clear and concise?
Hey, your phone kind of janky. Somebody got their mic.
I'm trying to close mine. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm in the Matrix. Yeah.
I'm clear and concise because I know we speak.
You got it.
Gotcha. Thank you. So I did. So we have to keep in mind that Kamala is a very well seasoned. With that, she is definitely able to gather herself very quickly because that's what you have to do in that profession. So they have been coaching her, and the speaker, and I think is Arinza. Arinza was definitely right. They have been coaching her on just like the Obama campaign. She actually grilled Trump on his convictions like a lawyer does, rather than defend her campaign on what she's running on. That's exactly what she did. It's not like, she avoided questions and then went straight to the conviction like a lawyer does. So, of course, she's going to be more convincing to the people that don't know or the people that are running on a specific earmark of their tangibles, much like the Black community is. Another thing, people do think that Kamala is in the lead when really, I don't think she is. Her base is what her base is, which is Black America. More so, foundational Black Americans are the ones that are really voting for her. We still make up the majority voting bloc. We still make up that. That's still us. We still don't hear anything that's going to help us, which in turn is not going to help us. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not going to help her. Out in California, we are still tasting that sour apple right now. That's still not going to help her. We were at least trying to see what do these candidates have that'll at least get us forward, that will at least say that, hey, and now candidate did that. Like, neither candidate did any of that. So the couch we do vote for. But she was coached and she was polished because she is a lawyer, a well-seasoned lawyer. She did run on a campaign, she did run on this particular platform of conviction, rather than defend what she's actually going to do for us rather than the country. The fracking thing I thought was illegal because them poisoning our natural water sources and just for fracking, just because they don't want to pay other people to bring oil from their land to ours. That was definitely egregious for me because I'm like, how we gonna get like natural water? Like, really? That's like slowly poisoning us, and she encouraged that. Aside from the fact, my number one priority was they didn't even glance at reparations. Like, it wasn't even a thought. They deliberately, and I think it's deliberate because of the California thing, I do think this was deliberate. They completely ignored it, which completely is going to tank Kamala. Absolutely. We're not going to vote for any of these candidates. We're going to vote for the couch. If you're not offering me anything, I'm not interested. If I'm not going to get anything out of it, I'm not going to give you anything. And I think it's a new day. And they're going to understand that it's a new day. Because even though we still have the old Black vote that's still trying to hang on and still be around, that's a fighting battle. That's like fighting sleep. It's going to come. you're going to get your reckoning. It's going to come because the younger folks have to come up. So whether they like it or not, they're going to have to acquiesce to what we want. And tonight we didn't hear what we want. So now I do want Trump to win, to be honest, with the whole room. I would prefer Trump to win than Kamala Harris. I would prefer that. I do not want my racists to say that, hey, I'm black like you, and then still undermine me rather than have my white supremacists right in my face. Like, definitely not at all. She is not for the black community. She cosplays black. She doesn't even know our culture. This is detrimental. She is literally in our face bringing people in to say, F you and what you stand for. I'm here now. No, definitely not. So I'm going for the couch. I didn't hear anything, that was exciting. It was a doo-doo show for me. Like, it wasn't giving anything. So I'm not going to give anything. Voting for the couch, I will do. But I do want to say that I'm glad that the younger generation coming up are being more politically inclined, and that we are getting into the mud. We are getting into the soil of what we need. They're going to have to water this plant in order for us to grow. We're going to make them water the plant. Well, our sunshine shines down on us because we are sun kids.
All right. Thank you, Dark and Lovely. Let me give a shout out real quick to my man 400 for his contribution on Cash App. Let me go ahead and get to Doctor. We got Dr. Lisa. We got Jess Cakes. I see Rella was up here, so we're gonna go ahead and let these be the if Rella comes back up, I'll let her get in. But they're gonna be the last two speakers, and if Rella comes back, I'll let her get in. And we're gonna close it out. DJ has a space coming up, so DJ, once we go ahead and close this one out, you go ahead and get it. Real quick, Dr. Lisa, we're gonna go ahead. Oh, okay. Well, excuse me, ma'am. I just saw Dr. Lisa, but okay. But
there was a couple things I was looking to see because I thought that some of the rhetoric that was coming out of Trump and J.D. Vance for calling her dumb and stuff like that, that really was kind of bothering me because even though I do not think she's black, I think she serves as a proxy for black women. And I didn't like the way that they was coming after her like that. The woman clearly has accomplishments. But I thought he was very reserved and not coming at her like that, which was a real switch from what they have been doing out on the campaign trail. The other thing, too, is I thought it was very interesting how he handled that race question when she tried to, the moderator tried to bait him about her being black. He was like, well, she ain't answering, I ain't answering it too, Yeah, I thought that was really kind of funny because he just kind of left it alone. I think he felt like he accomplished what he needed to accomplish in the discussions that we're seeing online about how race is being weaponized as a shield and a sword, and not in our better interest is already on the table. I kind of tuned out, after a while, especially when Vice President Harris thought it was a flex to say she got the endorsement of Cheney and what's his name? McCain. I was like, wow, so this is what we doing now? And I thought that was real interesting because it made Trump seem to me like the evolution of the more populist Big Tent candidate when you got traditional Democrats, especially those that are considered more liberal and progressive, bragging about getting endorsements from shoot him in the face Cheney. That was real odd to me. So at the end of the day, I really don't feel like there was significant progress made in gaining any new voters for either one of them. And I think that kind of favors Trump. I saw the Nate Silver poll, even though you really can't depend on the polls. But I've always thought from the beginning, unless she does something really, really big, that it's going to be a landslide victory for him because I just don't believe that someone who wasn't really voted into their position and they kind of manipulated to step her in there is going to be able to make that translate into a whole country of voter support. But we shall see. As it stands right now, I just,
didn't see a lot that was accomplished in terms of changing any real minds. Maybe if there's another debate in another platform, it might. But I think that at this point, he seems to be more on just cruise control because he says the stuff that I've already heard him say. I think the border question is a real big one that has bothered all of us. I want to feel safe in my country, and to pretend like we're not a safe country anymore because of that border crisis, I think is disingenuous on the part of candidate Kamala Trump and the Democratic Party. And I guess that's pretty much all I want to share at this point. I consider myself an independent voter. I'm going to vote on the day of the election because, we might get an October surprise. But as it stands right now, I felt like there wasn't a lot of gain for her or losses for Trump tonight.
All right. Thank you. Let me go ahead and get to Just Case. Just Case, you'll be the last speaker for the night. Then we're going to go ahead and close it out. Like I say, DJ has a space coming up right after this one here. So, Just Case, go ahead. You got it.
Thank you. I just want to end it by saying for 3.5, almost 4 years, Kamala and Biden gave us a behind the kiss when they gutted the Freedmen's Bank and opened it up to illegals and every other race of people. They have the fact that you can't, like she said, you can't feel comfortable in your neighborhoods and stuff like that. I got Venezuelans or Guatemalans or whatever, Hondurans or whatever they are, staying a few doors down from me. And every day they still coochie faithfully, okay? I stay in a nice, respectful neighborhood, black neighborhood, and I want to keep it that way. Kamala didn't choose black. I'm not going to, she didn't choose black, and I don't owe no allegiance to her. I just feel like they always say democracy's on the line. This has been the most undemocratic group I've ever experienced. Just because I'm in Chicago, mostly everybody know I'm in Chicago. They wouldn't even give us the right to vote if we wanted to even remain a sanctuary city. They took that away. So many rights get taken away, but they always sit here and say democracy is on the line. It's too little, too late. It's not enough. What she did in the last 6 months, her and Biden, as far as trying to act like they're closing the border when everybody's flooding here, it's not enough. So I know I was on the fence when it was Biden versus what's his name, Trump. But I'm here. I'm 100% Trump at this point, just because black people, we are in a precarious situation. We can't afford to have millions and millions and millions of more people flooding up in here. So if Trump said he's gonna close that border, that's enough for me. And I ended on that. Y'all have a good night and stay blessed. Stay strapped too.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. So, DJ, I'm going to go ahead and close this one out for the night. We'll be back probably tomorrow. So we definitely got a space plan for tomorrow night. What's tomorrow night? Wednesday, right? Okay, yeah. We got one for Wednesday planned. I don't know if I had to push it back to Thursday, but yeah, more than likely we got one. Let me just say tentatively scheduled for Wednesday. So we definitely should be back either Wednesday or we'll be back Thursday at the latest. But I'm going to go ahead and close this one out for the night and let DJ and Professor and the late night crew go ahead and do their thing. Professor, DJ, give y'all a minute. Y'all want to say something real quick?
Yes, I just want to say, family, good space tonight. We all got a chance to see both of these candidates. I hope everybody got a better chance and a better feel for what you're looking at for the future. Let's take it on to the next space, to the late night host right there, WPIDJ.
All right.
All I got is Trump was right and Kamala's a hoe. Let's go.
All right. Chill with the whole stuff. I see Secret Sister over there on YouTube, so shout out to Secret Sister as well. Two Secret.
You better come over to late night, yo. I ain't playing. I'm gonna tell Rome when you call.
Secret Sister, DJ got a space getting ready to go late night, so all y'all come over there, show some support. I'm gonna go ahead and holler at you guys. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we will see you either tomorrow or Thursday night. Peace.
Peace, everybody.